So what we're going to try to do this evening is discuss the number 3, because I want to do some numerology. And as well as that, we're going to talk about astrology, which I promised you as well a little bit. All right. So we'll do a little bit of that. And the real title of this talk actually is Why the Good Times Don't Last. That's really what it's called. That's really what it's called. But it's got a good ending, so I wouldn't worry too much. So what I'm going to present actually is probably the most important information which I actually share. I like to leave it to the end. People who survive, this much can handle it. And I wish when I'm telling you I would have known it growing up, especially at college. I think a lot of heartache which people go through in life, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how people, it's a big statement I'm about to make, I appreciate that, but I don't know how people go through life not knowing this crucial information I'm sharing with you. It's so central to Jewish thought, but to life in general, that let's put it this way. You walked in one kind of person. After the information I'm going to share with you, you should walk out some completely different. It's a very big statement. I don't say that too often, but I believe it to be very, very true. So that's this evening. We'll start with some numerology because, we like numbers. And the number I want to look at is the number 3, okay? Which in Judaism comes up quite a few times. Give me examples you can think of where you hear the number 3 come up in Jewish life or Jewish law or Jewish thought or Torah. Anyway, you see the number 3, some famous 3s, Dave? Forefathers. There were 4, but there were 3 of them. Right. 3 forefathers is correct. That's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Very good. Any other 3s you can think of from Jewish life? 3 angels did come to visit Abraham. That could be, I'm not sure, connected to what we're discussing this evening. There were definitely 3 angels. That's because they had 3 different missions. It could be related. I've never actually related it to tonight's topic, but it could be. So you know what? Hold that idea and try to plug it in at the end when you kind of see where we're taking this circle. Any other 3s you can think of? Think Passover. Come on. Well, that brought you to life. So no, there's 4 sons. There's 4. That's okay. It's 4. What else do you see? There's 3 on the table. There's 3 matzot on the table, right? There's 3 types of Jew. What does that mean? There's Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael, right? When Jewish people encamped in the desert and traveled, they actually had the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Then you had the Leviim, and they had the Yisrael, you see? You had Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. It was like concentric circles. So 3 there as well. 3 is actually a very crucial number, and it's really one of the sources of life. 1 is important, and 2 is, but really 3 is what we're about. And why it's important is because everything we try to achieve in this world goes through 3 phases. There is a phase 1, there is a phase 2, and hopefully at the end, if we get to it, there is a phase 3. It's really going to apply. I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to explain the idea. Then we'll look at examples from the Torah. Then we'll give some practical examples as well. Then we'll throw in the astrologies just to bring it all together. Okay? So how does that work? So phase 1 is called in the Jewish mystical writings Yecholes, the world of potential. Okay? Everything starts with potential. Actually starts from an idea. I heard from one of my teachers that this idea is kind of like drops into your head. The word for an idea in Yiddish, which is a very expressive language, I don't speak it, my wife does, but is an Einfall, kind of like fell in. You see, ein fell in. Right? The idea comes into your brain. Okay? Now, during our average day, how many different ideas do we have that kind of just fall into our brains? Like thousands, right? Thousands. Before you even take your first bowl of cereal in the morning, your first spoonful, like you've had 1,000 ideas go through, right? Especially if you're a man. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, by the way, okay? Ideas are constantly coming in, bam, 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 right? That's kind of like a phase 1 kind of thing. You're constantly taking ideas in the world of potential. Now, as potential works, you have to actualize it, and that's phase 2, you see? And try to take the ideas which you thought about, where they come from, we'll see actually. They come from a deep place. Remind me later on if I forget. Taking those ideas which you thought about in phase 1 and creating them, channeling them, okay? Making them real. That's phase 2. Phase 3 I guess, if it exists, is the mature enjoyment of having achieved what you thought about in phase 1 and what you concretized in phase 2 and became real in phase 3. Okay? In other words, phase 1 is the thesis. Phase 2 is the antithesis, the antithesis, if you will. And phase 3 is the synthesis, the coming together of phase 1, which you created in phase 2 and became real in phase 3. That is the pattern of all life. That is the spiritual code by which this world runs. Whatever achievement you try to achieve, you have to go through that. Okay? Example. Well, let's look at Torah for 1 second, and then we'll pull out some real examples. Phase 1, if you will, and from your learning so far, which is why I leave it to the end, this should become very clear to you, although I'm sure you're having many questions in your heads already, which is fine. Abraham, Avram Avinu, that's classic phase 1. Abraham was the first person to really, not introduce, but create a tangible world of thought process. There is one God. Okay, he was out there, he was expressing himself. He's classic phase 1. What's Isaac, his son? The exact opposite. He's the antithesis. Now remember, phase 2 is the real opposite of phase 1 because you're creating something real. But, and Kabbalah, one of my teachers used to say, it's like a funnel. Phase 1 is like limitless potential, and then it kind of channels down, the Kabbalah says, like a funnel into phase 2 because you can't do everything you thought about in phase 1. No one has that many hours in the day, that many days in the year, that many years in their lifetime. You've got to choose one thing. Listen carefully, this is very important. You've got to choose one thing to create it. See? And that's hard work. That's a contraction of what you thought about in phase 1. And phase 3 is achieving what you wanted to do, but, and this is the important point, this is actually the punchline I'm going to come back to, phase 3 is never what you thought it would be in phase 1. Never is. Phase 2 is hell. Phase 2 is like death. Literally death. Right, that's Isaac. Yitzchak is the exact opposite of Abraham. Yitzchak killed himself on the altar, remember? That's not Abraham, that's Isaac. Isaac, he's not even spoken about too much in the Torah. We hardly see anything of him. He was willing to give his life up. That's classic phase 2. Trying to really break down what he was in phase 1. Yaakov, Jacob, is phase 3. He's the synthesis of his grandfather and his father. That's why you needed 3 of them. See? You needed 3 because if it's all phase 1, you don't get anything done. If it's all phase 2, we can't move forward because we're constantly working on it. But when it comes together, that's why Jacob is the one who gets called Yisrael. And from him come all the tribes. You see, Abraham was too very out there, you see. And so he had a Yishmael. And Isaac was, but he had an Esau. Right? It takes a Jacob to bring it all together. He's the synthesis of, it's funny, when they depict the number 3 in Kabbalah, it's not 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 2, 3. Right? Like the stool, that's why, it's the coming together, the synthesis of bringing it together. They say a 1-legged chair you can't sit down on. 2-legged chairs, almost impossible, but 3-legged chairs, 3 is the basic, that's why we were studying like geometry. It's the basic formulation is the 3. You need to have those 3. That's why it says the world stands on Torah, Avoda, and Gimel Chasadim. The world only stands because there in this world something called Torah. There's something in this world called Avoda, work service, means service of God. And there is something called Gimel Chasadim, doing acts of kindness. Those are 3 relationships. We have a relationship towards God. We have a relationship towards each other. And we have a relationship towards ourselves. Those are the 3 basic relationships. And that's the form it takes, that triple. Can you see that? You're following so far? So that's Abraham, that's Isaac, that's Jacob. That's the synthesis that brings together. That's why we needed 3 of them to bring it together. And that's why Jacob is considered, to some degree, the greatest of all the forefathers because he pulled it together. He had a little bit of his grandfather. It's like the yin-yang. He pulled it together and melded it into one thing. Right? And that's who we come. We are B'nai Yisrael. So that means Jacob's name his name changed in the Torah to Israel. We are the children of Israel. Actually means that we are not the children who live in Israel, right? But we are the children of Jacob. That we kind of follow that rule. And some people are phase 1 people. And some people are phase 2 people. Right? We'll see who. And we're going to divide man and woman, by the way, into both phases. Right? But ultimately, we all want to reach phase 3. Okay? So that's how the forefathers kind of fit into that. So let's use some practical examples in life. Think about becoming a doctor. It's a classic one, Right? Every Jewish mother wants their child, right, to become a doctor, you see. It used to be a lawyer, now it's doctors, yeah? So you tell your mother, Mum, Dad, I want to be a doctor. Oh, thank God. Oh, my God, thank God. We were so worried, so nervous. So how, you feel fantastic, right? And your first day in medical school, I was at college with medical students. All right, they've got the coat, they've got the pens, everything's ready to go. First day of college for anyone. You're so excited, right? You think, and all your friends, your parents' friends, they're going to NYU? They're going to Baruch. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's so amazing. They're going to Ivy League. They're so excited. And the first day, so medical students, the first day, they feel so good, get a stethoscope, and they feel like, and you speak to them like 2 months later or 6 months later, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This was a big, big mistake. No one told me. It's like, what happened? No, seriously, what happened? Well, what happened was this individual moved from the phase of what's called inspiration to the exact opposite, which was phase 2, which is the antithesis, which is creating it yourself. Creating it yourself. Phase 3 is the graduation, and they say, it's not as good as I thought it would be. I mean, it's better because I've achieved something, but wow, I did not expect that. That was crazy. Because running a marathon, right, for charity, let's say, okay? People do that kind of thing, go and run for charities. Right, the first day you're there, right, you're getting sponsorship, you get your number, you got it on your leg, right, you're wearing it wherever it is, you're so excited, you got pictures, you got to buy the shorts, you buy the sneakers, they're measuring your foot, you're ready to go, everything's ready to go. And then you start training, and you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and suddenly the Facebook comments aren't there because you're all by yourself, and you're having to run, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. I was like, what was I thinking? This is an absolute nightmare. I mean, training for a marathon, or, it's like, oh, this is like the worst thing. I'm breaking myself. I can't do this, I can't do it. Eventually they do it. It's never as good as they thought it would be in phase 1, because phase 1 is the world of dimyon, imagination. It's not real. You get that? By the way, if what I'm telling you is true, which it is, it must, everything in this world, the physical world, must represent this, and it does. Think about your senses, your physical senses. Right, let's try an experiment over here. Everyone, if you can, besides you, Dave, fold your arms just for a second. Fold your arms like that, right? Now, just fold them the other way. It doesn't feel different. It's like, it feels weird, right? It's like, it doesn't, you're like, why does that feel so weird? Because even your physical sense of touch, you touch something, when you touch it, you feel it, and then it becomes, you don't feel it again. You know what I'm talking about? You touch something, and then after a couple of seconds, it disappears. That's the way the physical sense of smell. You go to, I take my kids to the zoo sometimes. You walk into the zoo, you walk near the monkey cage, you're like, oh my God, it stinks. Like what? How do people like live and work? And you see these like workers like having their sandwiches. What happens? Because the sense of smell, in the fancy language, the olfactory system works the same way. First of all, you smell it, and it hits you. And then what happens? Within a couple of minutes, it normalizes, and you don't even notice it anymore. And if you work there, you're like, no problem. So I'm like feeding fish to the seals. I don't even notice that stuff anymore. Or the sense of sound. It's like when you walk through Manhattan, you hear those stupid, annoying car alarms. And first of all, you hear it, and then what happens? And then you don't even notice it. When's the next time you notice it? When it stops. Because even that system is like, I hear it, and then it kind of fades into like white noise. I don't even notice it anymore. Like those people who like live in the city. I spend one weekend in the city. I live, you know, a kind of rural America, right, upstate. So when I hear the noise, I find it difficult to sleep. Because I hear the noises, and I'm like, how do people say it? Like, I don't notice it anymore. People that live near airports, they don't notice the planes anymore. You go there, it drives you crazy. Right? People from the city come to stay Shabbat by me. They're in my house. They're like, I can't sleep. It's too quiet. Right? Because now they notice it. See, when it's gone, they notice it. So every system, whether they smell or touch, taste as well. Right? The first bite of pizza is good, and after the 5th bite, it's not as good as anymore because the whole physical system reflects this idea of the phase 1, I feel that rush, and then it's removed. And that's really the secret of life. And let's go back to the classic Jewish episode that describes this. We all remember the Exodus from Egypt. How did that work? That's going to, by the way, the creation of the Jewish people should really fit into this system as well, because we're creating spiritual life in this world. That was the idea of the Jewish people being created. We had to create spiritual life. So we were in Egypt. Now, Egypt was difficult. But let's talk about the Exodus from Egypt, because that's when things get going, right? The Pesach story. So that Exodus from Egypt was, what did the Jews have to do? What did they have to do in order to get out? Did we fight our way out? Did Moses Schwarzenegger come and like fight his way out of Egypt? No, we did nothing at all. God took care of the whole thing. There were 10 plagues, there was blood, and there was frogs, and there was hail, and death of the firstborn. And we sat back on our proverbial deck chairs and did nothing at all. It's classic phase 1, right? You sit back and you just watch it all. And we felt great. And then we got out. That's the whole Pesach story. And we celebrate that. We celebrate the redemption. And what happens to us after that? Well, what should happen is we go straight to Israel, right? And we arrive at Havana, Gila, Havana. We're dancing around Jerusalem. That should actually be the next phase. But what happens to us? We are dumped into a desert. Now, what? There's no food. There's no water. We just went through the most amazing miracles ever known to mankind, which are going to resonate for all mankind for all eternity, for all mankind, not only the Jewish people. And then right after that, we're dumped in a desert, and we start complaining, there's not enough food, not enough water. Why? So this is the secret of life. The secret of all life, which I want to share with you, which most people don't realize, and we're going to apply it to other areas as well, is, first of all, follow carefully. First of all, you're given a gift. That phase 1 gift of inspiration. It's free. You don't do anything for it. You don't deserve it. It's given to you. Then it's taken away, and then you have to do it yourself. I'll say that again. First of all, you gave a shot of inspiration. It shot right into you. Right into you. Actually, it actually comes from you. We'll see. It comes from a deep place. Shot right into you. You feel it. You feel amazing. You see potential which was never existed before. I want to be a doctor. I want to run a marathon. Whatever the idea is. You then take it. It's then removed. And then you have to do it yourself. That's really the secret to all life. That is this world. There will always be disappointment to everything you try to achieve. And my point this evening is there has to be. Because that's what life is. Life, by definition, is going through the phases. And if it's all phase 1, you don't get anything done. You know, they say, I heard one of my teachers, a beautiful thing. He says, phase 1 is known Kabbalistically as maleness. Right? And phase 2 is femaleness. That doesn't always mean man, woman is for the most part, but yeah, you go with a guy on vacation, most annoying thing. And like, okay, honey, you say to your husband, what do you want to do today? Where should we go? He's like, we can go skateboarding, right? We can go walking, we can go hiking, we can go surfing, anything you want to do. He's like, oh, too many choices. Right? It's constantly, like every Jewish guy, every male, right? I work with Jews. They've always got a business idea. I've got another way to make money. There's like thousands of ideas. So why don't you do it? Well, that would be actually like taking one thing and creating it. That's too difficult, isn't it? That's very too much work. Having all of those ideas jumbling up in phase 1, that's a nice place to be. But taking one of them and creating it, which is phase 2. So women, or femaleness, that is the idea of taking one of those things and sitting with it and creating it. Where do we see this? In the whole reproductive system. What do men contribute? Millions of potentials. Millions upon millions of little potentials. And what do women do? They take one. It's amazing. Female is to take one, and sit with it for 9 months and create it. It's like so clear. That's the whole creation of life follows this system. Maleness is like billions of potentials, and then one is taken, just one out of all those, and we can create something from it. Isn't that the perfect analogy? Isn't it? Our own bodies are testifying to this amazing system that exists. The exodus from Egypt is the birth. Potential was limitless. And then what we were told to do? Then it was taken away. But why? It's like a cruel joke. Why would God take us from that amazing high and throw us in a desert? So the analogy which is given, which works so well over here, is that a child is learning how to walk. I think I've mentioned it before. So how does a child learn how to walk? The parents hold the hand. And the kids. And what does the father do or the mother do? Ima, Abba, they're like, come on, let's go. And it's like that, right? And then what does a good parent do? The parent, let's go. Let's go with the child. What does the child do? It falls down. Now, let's go through the eyes over here. According to the child, Doesn't make sense. I mean, I was just walking, and now I'm sitting here on the floor crying. What a cruel parent. And what does the parent say? You weren't walking. I was walking. You thought you were walking. When you fell down, that's when you were walking. You're like, what? Your falling down was actually you walking. It's like, but I'm not walking. That's the point. Because now you've got to do it yourself. And that's the Jewish people. The Jewish people were there. By the way, you see this so beautifully. So I'll bring in the astrology. I promised a little bit of astrology. So it works so well. What month did the Jewish people leave Egypt? You'll see this very clearly. It was Nisan. Right? Nisan is the month. Right? What is the astrological symbol for Nisan? It's the sheep. The sheep. Right? Aries, I think it's called. Aries. Right? The sheep. What is a sheep? Right? Are they leaders? No, they are docile animals that are led, that are shepherded around. They have to be led out. They're just taken out. What's next? Iyar. What's the month after Aries? It's the ox. Right, what's an ox? That's the doer. That's the doer. That's the animal that does the job. It takes on the job and does it. It physically creates and pulls. And what comes after that? This is so beautiful. What comes after that is the month of Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. Sivan is the month that we receive the Torah. Very good. What is the symbol for Sivan? Gemini, the twins. It's both coming together. Can you see that? It's the idea of us and God, us and each other, us the Jewish people. Right? It's the synthesis of those two. So the phase one, Nisan, is what is that month all about? In other words, when I say astrology, I don't mean open up the newspapers. Today you'll meet a nice, tall, dark, handsome stranger. See, I don't mean that like drivel, you read the newspapers. Each month has its own energy. And the Jewish holiday that falls inside that month, or the lack of it, represents what's happening in it. So Nisan is a type of being led. We were being led out of Egypt. What comes after that? Now you've got to work at it. You've got to create it. You've got to fall down. So the Jewish people, they have 49 days from Pesach to Shavuot is the fall down phase, the hard work. It's not easy. And many times Jewish people said what? They said, we want to go back. The work is too hard. We can't handle this. This desert. Right? The desert, it's not just the physical desert. They were in a physical desert as well, the Sinai. But it refers to the difficulty. Deserts are like challenge. Right? Difficulty, harsh. Right? And then you get to Mount Sinai in Sivan. So that month of Gemini, it comes together. The two sides come together. We go full circle. Can you see that? Right? That's the matureness of if you get through phase two. Right? It's like a child. The worst thing you do to your child is, I sometimes get people bring gifts to my house, come for Shabbat. Someone's got jelly bellies. You know jelly bellies, right? They've been kosher for a few years now. And they're a big box with like different colors in them. So you open up and see a child. Okay, which one do you want? That is torture for a child. Absolute torture. Because a child is like basically, any child is like a man, basically. Too many options. What do they end up with? Nothing. Like, I want that one, but I want that one. You can only take one. Like, jelly belly, take 5. But I want that one, that one, that. It's too many options, end up with nothing. See? It's very, very difficult. There's so many options, I can't limit myself to one. Now, with Rabbi Lawrence, all roads lead to dating and marriage. Isn't this the exact, this is the real source reason why the whole dating and marriage thing has ended up being in catastrophe. People are confusing phase one with phase two. Let me explain the way it's meant to be. It's meant to be that dating is phase one, and then you get married and you move into phase two. And then you reach a certain age, 60, 70, 80, 90, I'm not sure, when you're in phase three. That old couple you see walking down the street, like really slowly holding hands together. You're like, oh, just get out of the way, I'm trying to get past you. Right? They maybe have reached phase three. Right? Maybe they've reached that point where it's complete synthesis together. I'm joking. A little bit earlier, hopefully, At some point, you reach a kind of synthesis. But the mistake is that people are confusing phase one with phase two, meaning that the dating experience is all phase one. Right? It's amazing. We went out here, we went over there, and we went to the movies, and we went out to dinner, on vacation, spent the weekends together, went to the Hamptons, went to Southampton, went to West Hampton, Northampton, East Hampton, went to all the Hamptons, and it was a great time. Went to Fire Island. It's so amazing. And we're dating for 2 years now, and it's on, and we were dating. Yeah. See, the problem is, phase 2 is the antithesis of phase 1. Marriage is phase 2. So all these young, amazing people are getting married, and they think that phase 1 is marriage, but it's not. Phase 1 is a discovery phase to create a world or view the world where I have potential, but then I take one and I work hard at creating it. That's the whole concept. That's what you're trying to do. And the mistake is that people go into phase 2, they're like, marriage is like really, really difficult. Forget what they show in the movies. They're like, you know, they like drive off with the cans in the back of the thing and just married, and they all live happily ever after. It's complete drivel, right? Marriage, especially the first year, is, and by the way, if you hear this from me, it was worth it coming tonight. It's really tough, especially first year. Really tough, especially for young people. Very, very hard. And they always turn around, and I hear this all the time, pretty much every marriage I've done. Like, I never knew it was so difficult. The communication and dealing and arguments and family and friends and working, and he doesn't listen to me, she doesn't understand me, and it's like so difficult. You're like, hello, that's called life. That's the way it's meant to be. They think that phase 2, they think that marriage should represent dating, but it's not. So what's happened is everyone thinks that phase 1 is reality, but it's not real. It's all in your mind. Why God created the system this way, it's not like a big cosmic joke God's having with us. Like, ha ha, right, let's torture him. Right, let's torture Dan. Right, what we're going to do is, he's going to be a nice girl, he's going to date for 4 years, and then, he's going to end up marrying her. Good luck with that. Right? It's not like that, you know, like, straight into the lightning, you know, just when it's all going so well. Phase 1 is meant to be short. You're meant to look, discover, see what's right, look at the various options. You're meant to do that. And then you choose one and sit with it. That's the idea. But people get stuck in phase 1, especially men. Right? Because how can I limit myself to one? There's just so much of me. Right? I mean, if I choose one, then I'm saying no to the other 99. That's wrong. Right? Even if they're not dating anyone at all, that's what they think. Right? Men like all the opposite. Women by nature are different for the most part. Are nurturing, and they realize well, they're meant to. Unfortunately, this has also been broken in our generation. Right? Even the women aren't getting it. It was bad enough when the men don't get it, but when the women don't get it either, right, then we're in real big trouble. And they come along, and they're meant to sit, and they're meant to create it. But they can also get stuck there as well. Right? At some point, you've done working on it. Right? Eventually, the child's got to come out, as it were, in the metaphor. Eventually, you've got to move on with life. So once we have this realization that when I go through challenges, when I create something, that's really, again, it's definitely, it's meant to be that way, but that's really what I'm about. I'm meant to be the person who goes from the inspiration phase 1 into that darkness of phase 2. I went to yeshiva. We turned up in yeshiva the first day. I mean, I went to college as well, but we've done the university analogy already. Yeshiva. First day you go, or anyone, you hear your first Jewish class, you're like, wow, this is great. It's just like so interesting. I never knew Judaism had all this stuff attached to it. There's so much to it. You call your mother, call your father, right? I think you're crazy. Right, you call it your grandparents, right? Call it friends. Yeah, I went on this trip, went to Israel, it's all about Judaism. I go to classes now. And you feel so good. And then and this happens all the time. You're like in for 6 months, right? If you last that long, you're like, what it was when I first started. Happens in yeshiva. You turn up first day, and then you start to study Talmud. You start to, and you're like, this is tough. I mean, this isn't like the fun it was when it started. It's like really hurting me. It's hurting my head. I thought it was meant to be more fun than this. And the answer is, that's phase 2. That's actually at that point that really the program begins. That's when it starts. I heard one of my teachers say that he knows someone who ran a yeshiva, and he would get boys walking in, he would share his ideas, and they would be like, this is really difficult. It's not, when I first started, I'm like 2 years in, it's like, 2 years in, this is like driving me crazy. And it's like, welcome to phase 2. Just when you think it can't get better, you jump right down. It's pulled from you. It has to be that way. Without that, you don't create anything yourself. The whole Jewish model, the whole spiritual model of this world is based upon this. The first year of marriage is meant to be challenging. If it's not, there's something wrong. If you're still 1 year into marriage, still floating around, not arguing, you're on crack. there's no other, I can't even imagine it. I've never seen such a thing. There's got to be, it's like a new pair of shoes. At first they pinch, and after a while they become more comfortable, and then you're like, how do I ever live without them? But it's always got to start with, you've got to feel it. I mean, just use the dating thing, and it's not a metaphor, it's reality. Dating is meant to be, as I'm describing it, phase 1, discovery phase, and then you get married. But everyone's investing and want phase 1 to last forever. It's not meant to, because it's not real. That's not what we're in this world for. We're in this world to achieve, to work, and it's tough. And you're going to fall, and you're going to mess up, and I can't do this. Now you have to realize maybe the relationship you're in is not meant to be. Maybe the job you're in, maybe the career you're in. I hear that could be as well. I'm not saying every challenge you have is a sign you're meant to be in that world. It could be after a certain point, you're banging your head against the wall, and you're not meant to be doing that. Okay? Not everyone's meant to be a doctor. Right? Not everyone is meant to, be a lawyer. Not everyone's meant to be a rabbi. And, everyone's meant to get married. But we'll leave that aside, right? Everyone's got to go through it. Just as childbirth is natural and follows the same thing, it's being revealed to me in the same way. What's the point of phase 1? And I want to discuss with you where it comes from. Did I mention that? I said something I had to remember. Was that what it was? I'll give you an amazing thing. I'll share with you a beautiful idea, incredible idea in a second, really. But what's the point of phase 1? What's the point of it? Rabbi, you're telling me it's not real anyway. What's the big deal? Why this big joke by God that everything starts with feeling, you touch it, you feel it, and then it's taken away? Just start us in phase 2. Isn't that the question that's that should be bothering you? It's like a cruel joke. Why couldn't God create the system? God can do whatever he wants, right? Let the system be that you start in difficulty, and then you move to, equanimity. I don't know. Why couldn't it start that way? It's like a cruel joke. It's like you give it to me, and you take it away. What's the answer to that question? If you've been listening, you should have the answer to that question. At least in your head.
So you have something to strive for? Kind of know what your goal is?
Oh, very, very good. Very good. You see, without phase 1, I call this the wedding album theory. That's my own personal title, but I'll say what I mean by that in a second. Without phase 1, you don't have a goal. You don't see that's the way it's meant to be. Without dating, you can't see that. What's a guy like when you're dating him? First date, even the most uncouth, Neanderthal male, right, which is, your average, Manhattan individual, right? Even he on the first date is getting it right. Even he's looking okay. Even he's opening the door for you. Even he, hopefully, is paying for you at least the first date. He's like a respectable male. At least that first date, before we move to date 2, date 3, he's like, well, she can also pay. Right? At least the first date, right, he's not scratching himself with his keys. Right? At least the first date, he's not drooling on himself. At least the first date, right, he's giving you answers with more than 2 syllables. He's actually trying, you see. Even he gets the idea. So things are good. So dating in general is good. But when you get to marriage, right, then things, start to slack. Right? The socks end up in the sink. And the underwear's on the pillow and all the rest of it, and all the gross stuff, and, all the nasty habits and all the unfortunate noises that come out of people, It all starts. I'm not doing that, early dating. That comes much later on, you see. That's when it becomes so difficult. But when I'm in phase 2, and I'm in that really challenging, horrible place, and I'm stuck in it, I stop, I look back at phase 1 and say, that's the way it could be. That first day, that first class, right? That first day of the store I just opened, where everything was so fantastic, and every question I got on the call, on the phone about my business and about my products was great. By 2 years in, people are like, hey, can I help you, right? At least you can look back, In other words, at least I have a certain model. I have a certain theorem. I can see the way that it could be. Even if it's not real, I get a vision. We know that we had a good relationship at one point. We wouldn't have got married. We know that I wanted to be a doctor. I wouldn't have gone through the process of applying and wanting to. I know that I could have done this, but I look back and it's not real. Phase 1 is demio, it's pure imagination, but at least I can see there is something I can base it upon. That feeling can get you through to phase 3. That's the real reason for it. The idea is not to remain in phase 1. If you do that, you remain a child. And you can't end up in a serious relationship because, how can I? I'm in phase one. I'm that guy on vacation who can't choose one activity when there's so many things to do. Right? I'm the kid with the jelly bellies. If I end up with nothing at all. You're like, you get nothing at all. You see? End up a child. So phase one is a point of inspiration. It's really the way to look at it. Right? So I call it the wedding album, I call it. Why call it the wedding album? Right? Because at the wedding, and what a ridiculous way to start a marriage. Let's be honest with you. What a stupid idea. Why would you start? These people don't even know each other. They've been dating for years. They've been living together, unfortunately. Right? Believe me, you don't even know each other. You think you do, you got no idea. Because when you're dealing in the world of marriage, suddenly you're in for keeps. Right? Because when you're dating, no matter how serious you think he is, there's always 1 foot out. So what a ridiculous thing. You know what we should do? You should start every marriage, you just live together. If you survive 10 years, you have a big wedding ceremony. Does that make sense? If you survive, and this way the kids can actually come. They can be there. They can see their parents get married. I'm like wasting my time showing my kids the wedding. And this is mommy and daddy, and my kid, I forget, Racheli, she was younger. She was like crying. I'm like, why crying? She goes, I wasn't invited. I'm like, thank God you weren't invited, or my in-laws would have killed me. You see? So you have the wedding albums. The wedding album, it's like everyone's so good looking. It's like, that's not real. That's not life. It's not meant to be life. It's meant to be this made-up thing, this made-up reality called a wedding album. So I can turn around to my kids 12 years later, thank God, and say, you see, mommy and daddy weren't always this fat. Look. I've had a bit more hair on the top. Look, you see a little bit. You see? But it's not real. That's okay. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be this magical world, right, where she, like, I've told you before, right, the guys, the few men we have here this evening. You know that women grew up dreaming about their marriage day? The dress and stuff. Most women, right? Men don't grow up thinking, one day, wearing a tuxedo under the chuppah. I can't wait. If he did think that growing up, I'd be suspicious. I'll be honest with you, okay? But women have that. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful thing. Right? My kids, they play like that. Right? They have one's the bride, one's the groom, right? And the other's the bridesmaids, and they do that. My girls do that. That's a good thing, you know? And I try to give my son the doll, right? And he opens up the legs. He's like, you see? It's a different reality. So the wedding album theory is, it's okay. That's phase one. So when I'm going through this whole horrible thing, you know, pull it out, bring out the album, and you're dusting it off, covered in dust. That's what we were going for. We were going for this. This is the image we were going for. That wasn't real. I didn't know you. I mean, personally, I knew my wife for like, dated for 2.5 months, got married after another 3 months. We didn't know each other. But no one knows each other. You think you have to speak to anyone, if you're lucky enough that your parents are still married, even if they dated for, say, did you know each other under the chuppah? I don't know who he was. I don't know who she was. Anyone who's in a good, healthy marriage for at least 10 years will say, I didn't know them at all. I thought I did, because we got married because we were in love. You didn't, you idiot. You got married because you had to get married, right? You got married because someone else. You got married because you got, you know, strong-armed into it. Because the rabbi came and dragged you by the ear and said, get married already, you loser. You see? That's what you went through. I come because I'm in love. You don't even know each other. That's okay. You're not meant to. You're meant to find someone there's good potential for. Who can I choose to get me through phase 2 of life? Who can I choose to be the best husband, father? Who can I choose to be the best wife or mother? And that's what I tell people. That's the choice. Should I be with this? Should I not? Be honest. Is this the person you want to be the father of your children? Like, don't think about it too much, because in most cases you want to say no, but right, is this I want to be the mother of my kids? Right? Who can I go through phase 2 with? That's what you're looking at. There's a, and we'll just pull it together like this. There's a mystical piece. I think it actually appears in the Gemara, actually. I was trying this morning, trying to figure out where it was. I think it's in a tractate called Kiddushin, I believe so, that tells the following thing. And many people have heard this idea before. Many religious people who go to yeshiva, pretty much all of them, have heard this idea before, yet no one knows exactly why they would have such a teaching in their heads. And the idea is, some of you have heard it before, when you're inside your mother's womb, an angel comes, teaches you everything you need to know, and then strikes you on the lip. Have you ever heard this before? Yeah, sound familiar at all? Okay, if it hasn't, don't worry. An angel comes, yeah, you've heard it before? Tali taught it to us. Hits you on the lip, makes a little dip over there, and then you forget everything it taught you. Actually, the Talmudic piece, if I remember correctly, says it in more detail. Actually says that an angel comes, it's your personal angel, and teaches you the entire Torah. Actually, it means teaches you your chelik in the Torah. That means your role in life. who you're meant to be with, what your job's meant to be, kind of person you're meant, everything. It teaches you whatever you need to know. Then comes along, it hits you. You forget it all. You forget everything. And then you're born with a little dip over here and a blank slate. What a strange thing to teach children. One second. You're telling me that I was taught everything I need to know. That means all the things I've been spending my whole life trying to figure out, I was taught, and then I was smacked in the face by an angel, whatever that means, yeah, and on the mouth, and then I forgot it all. If I told you, you know what, you have a math exam coming up, I'm a rabbi, let me help you. And I sit down and I work with you for weeks and weeks and weeks. You're like, oh, Rabbi, that was amazing. I know exactly how to answer every single question. I'm like, before you go in, one last thing. And I punch you in the face, which I would never do. I give you a smack in the face. And you fall down and you get unconscious for a second. You're like, oh my God, I have amnesia. I forgot it all. I'm like, good luck. What a ridiculous thing. What kind of teaching is that to give Jewish people? Even if it's true. And the answer is, it goes like this. You're not forgetting it. It's actually doing is driving it deep inside you. That's the idea. Right? What comes out, it's actually deep, it's encoded inside you. It has to be. Because during your life, you can have lots of ideas and thoughts, but it's driven deep down into your soul. So during your life, if you quiet down the static and the noise around you, and you stop and you try to listen to your inner, what's this inner voice? This is what it's talking about. The inner voice, talk about meditation. Right? It's a very Jewish idea. It's a very good book on this, by the way. If you tell me afterwards, I'll tell you a very good book to read on this exact topic. It's actually quieting down the outside noise. Do this, be that. Quiet it down and listen to your inner voice. This voice that actually was encoded inside you. So that means it could be a person come up to you and say, yeah, this is what I need to do with life. Because how do you know? Because I just know. Or when you hear an idea, and you're like, wow, that so resonates with me. Why should it? Why should it? Why should you hear that? Because you heard it before. You had it. It was taken away, and you had to find it yourself. You can't go through life with like answers to everything. There has to be a struggle. The baby in the womb is phase 1. You're being fed, you're being taken care of. You come to this world is phase 2. And the outer world is phase 3. That's the next world. That's really what you're trying to do. Trying to remember and try to get out of yourself everything you heard from that angel. You know, they say the deeper source is a frightening thing. It's a terrifying thing. I don't want to give you nightmares. But they say when you enter the next world, you see a being approach you. And you look at this being and you recognize the face. I recognize that face. You notice it's the angel who was with you inside your mother's womb that taught you the entire Torah. That's the angel. And you look at this angel, you're like, where is it? Where is it? I gave it to you, and I want you to achieve it. Why don't you do it? And then so the soul goes through certain anguish. It's shown what it could have achieved. It's shown books it could have written. It shows families it could have built. It's terrifying. It goes through a lot of anguish at that moment. See? It looks at other people, what they could have achieved and how much they did actually achieve. It's actually an anguishing kind of experience by going, whatever that means. We should know such things. But that's really what... But it's there. It goes full circle. It comes together. Where is it? Let me see what you did with the tools, with the abilities which I gave you. So in other words, it's not some outside voice that's going to come to you. You're like, Rabbi, tell me what I should do. Go to your therapist, tell me what I should do. Go to my teacher, what should I do? My professor, what should I do? My parents, what should I do? It's got to come from you. They can guide you. They can lead you on the way and kind of show you the way to actually kind of get there. But no one can make the decisions for you. People say to me, Rabbi, should I be with this person? Is this the person I spend the rest of my life with? And what's the answer? I don't know. Based upon your growth in life, based upon how far you've come, based upon your abilities and what you're looking for. Right? But if you're looking for the wrong stuff your entire life, then you're completely mismatched. Can you see that? You've got to know yourself. And no one can make the decision for you. And in the marriage analogy, because the next morning you wake up and the party's gone and the phase 1 is done for. Actually, phase 1 doesn't end as you get married, by the way. You get like a week. Right? You get maybe like one, if you're lucky, 1 week, where everything's like kind of okay, and it's still the excited phase. You're still eating the leftovers from the wedding. You know what I'm saying? You still got a little bit of cake. Right? And then it begins. You get like a little bit of a leeway. That is the secret to life. All right. We'll stop over there. Any questions, thoughts, comments on, yeah?
So you usually encourage people to, who are dating for a while to jump in and, get married already. I know
Or
you always-
jump out, depends what's going on.
you make fun of people who are dating for a long time.
I don't make fun of people making love. People who date a long time, this is one reason, based upon these teachings, that I think they're actually ruining their chances of marriage.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say,
Because they are so used to this fun phase, right? And phase 1 is all about me, and phase 2 is all about you. And that transition for a lot of people is an almost impossible transition. It's hard enough for people who are in it, but years of like this kind of like phase 1 kind of enjoyment,
Yeah, that was my question. What would be the point of getting married sooner rather than later?
Very, very good. Because once you know, you know. People can know much earlier, but they're just scared to do it. They're scared to jump in because look, phase 2 is scary, right? Yitzchak, Isaac was death, right? It feels like death. Isaac was the one who went up to the altar, went to give himself up. I don't want to say marriage is death. I just want to clarify. I'm very pro-marriage. I think it's a very good thing to do. I performed maybe 60, 70 weddings over the years. I'm very into it. But the reality is it's tough. I'll give you an extreme example. This is an extreme example. I can laugh at it now, but I did a wedding years ago of a certain guy who came here, and he got married in a very large hotel in Manhattan. Beautiful wedding. I mean, the wedding was the price of my house. Okay? And the wedding finished. I got a call the next morning on my cell phone. I'm thinking back, actually, it was like the flip cell phone. Years ago this happened, right? And I picked up the message. It's like, hi, Rabbi, it's, call him David, you know. No, I answer. It's a true story, by the way. Could you give me a call? We have a question to ask you. It's like, funny. Morning after, I was like, usually the rabbi, a week later, a couple of weeks later, Everything okay? He goes, yeah, fine. Anyway, we can annul the wedding. True story. Got married Saturday night, late Saturday night, Sunday morning. I'm like, what? Can we annul the wedding? I'm like, well, what do you mean, annul? What does that even mean? I don't know what he's talking about. He goes, well, after the chuppah, we had the party, we ate, we went back home afterwards, and even at the wedding, we had a little bit of tension between us. We got home, we fought, we didn't even consummate the marriage, we were arguing the whole night, and she said something about my mother, I said something about her father, and money got involved. It's always money, right? Poor people don't argue about money, right? It's the rich people that argue about money. And being very serious. If you want to argue about money, you've got to marry someone who's with money. That's the argument about money. And we fought, and we argued, and we realized it's not right. So, and we can retroactively, I'm like, no. You got married according to New York law, and you got married according to Jewish law because there were witnesses that saw you give the ketubah and the ring on the finger. Because on that, you have to get divorced, but you're not getting divorced. It's like, give it a week. Give it a day. Right? You want one full, give it 24 hours, you know what I'm saying? Because I jumped, it's a true story, I swear to you it's a true story. I'm like, absolutely not, over my dead body. You're going to go into counseling and you're going to figure this out. Now, how the extremely wealthy people, their dating phase was fantastic. They were going all around the world having a great time, but it wasn't, this is an extreme example. Right? For most people, it takes, a month to reach this point. Right? But it always does. Oh, by the way, let me tell you something. This is very important, by the way. I mean, very serious. I had a call about this recently from a person who got married recently. I won't say who, obviously. But let me be very clear. You are going, everyone in their first year, at least, usually within the first few months, will think to themselves, I've married the wrong person. I'm telling you it's going to happen. I'm telling you that, so when it does happen, you shouldn't freak out. You're going to think it. Listen, you may not, hopefully you don't say it, keep your mouth shut. Right? Doesn't mean you have to say it because you think it. Not everything you think you got to say. Right? You don't have to shoot from the lip every time an idea comes to your head. You don't have to let it spill out. But it happens. Every time I've seen it happens. And they'll be like, I made a mistake. This is not the person I'm going to be with. And start to freak out. And they get very, very scared. And the answer is, what are you scared about? Right? It's where it's meant to be. If after 2 years you've never had that thought, what's the problem? At least once you're like, whoa. I'm like, this guy's crazy. This girl, she's nuts. You may feel while you were dating. I don't know, right, nowadays. Right? But if that's okay. It's okay. Oh, less than 24 hours is unusual. But to have that's okay. That means you kicked into gear. I'm taking this thing seriously. I'll tell you a little secret here. I'm sorry to talk about dating, but that's the world I live in, I mean, not personally. But when a girl comes to me and says, Rabbi, I'm dating this guy. It is fantastic. First date, 9 hours. Fifth date, 24 hours. Everything's fantastic. I'm like totally in love. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. That's really good. I think to myself, it's not going to happen. I promise you, it's not going to happen. I think it's not going to happen. When she walks in, I'm like, how was it? She goes, oh, okay. Like, fifth date, yeah, it's all right. It's a bit annoying. I'm like, we have potential. We have potential. And when it's all too good, it's all fantastic, the only way is down. Right? You're like so enthused into phase one. You're so thinking that's reality. There's no way it's meant to be. No one walks through life like that. And wait till the kids come. Kids are completely nuts. You realize this? Right? I know you visit your friends. I always see on Facebook, here's my little niece. Right? Here's my little, right? Because the parents never do that. Here's my little boy. Like, they're crazy. Do you know what they cost? Do you know what I've spent on diapers? And by the way, it's not an investment. I'm not investing in Huggies. It's not. It's a very poor choice. It's like Facebook. Not a very poor choice of investment. It's really tough. They're really annoying. Kids are really annoying. You know they don't sleep. You know they like cry. You know that bit you're about to fall asleep. You're like really comfortable. And you're like, yeah, and he's about to. They're exactly. They're like, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Now. It's tough. Right? You think, oh God, what was I thinking having kids? Oh, you think that all the time. You're like, oh, but it's so cute. Right? That's why, by the way, this is the reason God made kids so, I'm being very serious. Right? Victor Miller, a very great rabbi from, died about 15 years ago. He would say the reason God made babies so cute is that you wouldn't kill them. Right? Like, you broke it. You're great. You just made on my chair. You cry, I love it. You broke my phone. Right? What are you, crazy? You know, you got to strangle kids like, oh, you're so okay. Right? Imagine you're born as a teenager. Imagine what your parents would do to you. You're like, come on, little baby. I'm hungry. Feed me. Most babies can't talk. There's a reason for that. I mean, there's a reason why babies can't talk. If they talk, you'd argue back with them, like a teenager. In other words, if a kid says to you, I'm hungry, you can say, you know, wait a little bit. You can't say that to a baby. Right? What does the baby say? Ma! How do you answer that? Like, oh, 1 second. He doesn't know what you're talking about. You could just do it. It's tough. It's very tough. That's the reality. That's the reality of baby. I'm blessed with a great wife. I do nothing, unfortunately. Right? She's I'm the lucky one, you know. But it's tough. It's tough. Right? My point is, that's the way it's meant to be. Because that's when you create it. That's when you create the child. That's when you create your relationship. So you create your career, your college education, whatever it is. All right. We'll stop over there. Have a great night.